Hey everyone, so today I would like to talk to you about a subject that's quite personal to me, as I actually deal with clients that have this, and there doesn't seem to be much information on this actual subject and how you can use personal trainers, massage therapists, and fitness professionals to help with this condition. Okay, and I'll go into a little bit about that in a minute. So, what we're going to talk about today is MS, or multiple sclerosis. Okay, so what does that mean? You would have heard this term thrown around. There are the ones like MD, CP, CF, but what MS is multiple sclerosis. Okay, what that means is multiple, as in many, and sclerosis comes from the Greek word of hard, or to harden something. So you may have heard of atherosclerosis, which is a scarring or hardening of the arterial walls and the plaques, which causes heart attacks. MS is the same thing, but it attacks the nervous system. Okay, and I'm going to go into more detail on what that is and how I've been helping my clients with that. So, it affects the brain and spinal cord by affecting the myelin, or the coating of the nerves. Okay, so if you imagine your nervous system is kind of like electrical wires. Okay, if you hold up your plug, you'll notice that there is a rubber case around it. Okay, myelin is the exact same thing. It is an insulation membrane that is designed to protect the nerve so that the messages can go down. Multiple sclerosis attacks that and damages it, which then causes a difficulty in the signals getting through in the early stages and then blocking them completely later on. It is caused by an autoimmune issue where the white blood cells, the antibodies, attack the myelin, mistaking it for a foreign body. Okay, so you develop it a bit later on. For the most part, the clients I've been working with, they usually find out in their early 20s to mid 20s that they've contracted it. And it'll be a very early stage. It'll be some small signs that things aren't going quite right. And you can find out this information on the MS website. They do have the Multiple Sclerosis Society. They have their own information, and you can go into more detail on that. But I'm going to sort of give you a brief overview and how I'm helping. Okay, so your body is attacking itself. There are a lot of other autoimmune diseases where this does the same thing, and it's just a mix-up in the signals from somewhere. They're not entirely sure of the triggers. Some have linked it with a lack of vitamin D because it's very rare to have MS in countries that are closer to the equator. There are some genetic fallbacks, although it isn't necessarily inherited from a family, from a parent, although it is in very rare cases. Multiple siblings may have it, but it's not an inherent genetic trait. So if you do have it, don't worry so much about passing it on to your children, or if your parents had it, don't worry. There is a very low chance that you will get it because they're not really linking a specific gene pattern to it. Okay, but it does attack your body. It's an autoimmune system. Some viruses can set it off because, again, it alters the gene thing. So, just be careful with the information you're getting. Okay, you don't want to scare yourselves. In progressive cases, it does go on to attack the actual nerve itself. So it starts off by attacking the insulated myelin, and then in severe cases, it will go ahead and attack the nerve itself, which is when the sort of severe damaging parts happen where the nerves are completely shut down. Okay, so if we look at the diagram I put up here, you've got a healthy nerve, early stages of MS and late stages. So for your key here, myelin is the blue part here, the nerve is the green line in the middle, and the damage is the sclerosis. Okay, so on a healthy nerve, we have the nerve running through the middle, all this information and signals going where it needs to go, and a myelin sheath that protects it and coats it. Okay? When MS attacks in the early stages, what happens is there's a damage to this myelin sheath. Okay, so all of a sudden these signals, grab my pen, are now sometimes, just like with an insulation cable, are getting lost. They're not traveling down anymore. Okay, so less and less signals are going to where they need to go. Okay? So that is what happens in the early stages. And that is why, I'll explain in a minute why what I'm doing is important, because we're flooding more messages down than what would normally go through. Now, most people, when they find out they have MS, will tend to see it as the end already. Okay? The good thing I want to tell you is that if you have the early stage of MS, the more exercise you do, the better. Okay? Because you send lots of signals down to the muscles, nerve endings are being worked all the time, you're keeping your brain active, and more importantly, you're keeping your muscles active, because when you stop using those muscles, you will then atrophy off and you'll start losing them, which makes it harder to move, and it exacerbates the situation. So luckily, my clients are very sporty. One was ex-army, used to love doing circuit training and really push himself hard. The other one was a very good footballer, so they were always running around, keeping their muscles working, and that will be the key to what I'm going to go into in a minute. As you can see, at the late stages of MS, when it has become a sclerosis, i.e. hardened, these plaques will damage the myelin and attack the nerve itself. So there is no way of getting those things in, and progressively it will shut the nerve off in the very late stages. Okay. Medication is coming forward. Okay. As I said, treatment, there is no known cure for MS because it is an autoimmune disease. We're still trying to figure out what it is. But there is medication that can help / delay or stop the progression. There has been some research into stem cells. A massage client of mine, her daughter had stem cell treatment done, which has stopped the progression. It hasn't cured it, but it has cut it dead in its tracks. So it was very highly experimental. They're still working things out, okay? But as with always, with research, there's hope. So please don't ever think this is the end for you, because there is always hope that things will get better. And that's the key thing I want to put forward. So how do I help with these people? Physical therapy and exercise can help rebuild the tissue and build the nerve messages again, okay? So the way I look at it is this, okay? There isn't actually any real mantra or methodology into treating people with MS. And I was very surprised to find that there's 1 or 2 things they'll get you to do at home just to help you move around, okay? There doesn't seem to be any real big encouragement into exercise other than if you can do it. There is no course to take on MS. If you go through the NHS, as wonderful as they are, they're very stretched. You might get a physio appointment once every 3 to 4 weeks, which isn't enough, okay? I work with my longer term client 3 to 4 times a week, and my new client will be upping his sessions shortly, because you have to build yourself up to it. You have to understand, if your nerves and muscles aren't used to receiving signals, it's incredibly tiring. After 1 session, okay, you will need a long time to recover as you get better at it. Like with any exercise, we can add more sessions in. It needs to be kept on top of. We need to keep the muscles moving, sending multiple signals down to those limbs where they're getting damaged, so that at least something's getting through. And I am very happy to say that my long-term client has gone from not being able to move at all, me having to do all of his manipulations on the floor, massaging and moving his legs, to being able to do walking lunges up and down the room. We've almost got a bicep activated again through bicep curls. We're actually making progress, but it is slow. It took a whole year to get that far. So you have to be ready to invest in it. And to be honest, it is a worthwhile investment, because it does give you a semblance of freedom back. It keeps your mind sharp, because the worst thing is it can be very isolating being in this situation. Feeling alone, you can't go places, obviously people have got to look after you, and it can be difficult to get your head around. So even having the interaction on a regular basis is also very important. Now, it's not just any person that's going to be able to come and do this, not in the sense that I'm special in any way, but it is very monotonous. It is not very rewarding straight away from a outward results point of view. You have got to be prepared, and you have to find somebody that you're willing to work with day in, day out, that is ready to do the same thing over and over again, find those subtle nuances and work with it, but it does pay off. So this more so if you're a trainer that is interested in coming into this, because you're told to stay in your lane. Now, if you're going very carefully, just like you would with any other client that's learning how to do things, you're there to support them. It would help if you maybe have a sports massage background, because then you've got the manipulation side of things. Obviously, if you're a physio and things, that's great. You've got a higher education than anything else anyway. You have to be willing to do the same thing day in, day out. Now, with a normal client, you wouldn't. You get bored after a while, and I completely understand that, but this is not your ordinary client. These are specialist populations that do require a little bit of work. Now, if you have MS, I really do implore you to invest in something like this, okay? Vet a few people, find out people that are willing to do it and that you can work with and have a conversation with, because they're going to be a large part of your lives. But the payoff is genuinely incredible, okay? I have seen these people change in mindset and body and gain hope again, and that is what you need to get through this sort of thing. We know we're fighting not a losing battle, we're aiming for stalemate. Until medication can progress up to try and reverse the symptoms, or there's things that we can use to repair the damage, you're basically trying to keep it at a stalemate. And that is hugely rewarding if you can do that, because if you're not getting worse and you're staying the same, that's just as good sometimes as getting better. And you will learn to move more. You can push yourself harder. You can get a semblance of feeling that way you felt before. So if you are interested in any of this, please contact me. Get hold of me. I would love to talk to you about what we can do to help. If you know somebody that has just been diagnosed with MS, get them to exercise as much as they possibly can, because it's going to pay dividends in the long run. And if they're interested in looking into a trainer or any kind of training, please, please, please put them in contact with me if you're local. If not, we will do our best to try and work together to find something that works for you. MS can't be cured, but can definitely be managed, and it can be definitely made better. Okay, I've spent the last year of my life really looking into this and making some great progress with people, and I would love for everybody else to be able to do the same. So just a quick recap. Multiple sclerosis meaning many hardenings. Okay, a hardening of the nerves and a breakdown of the protective insulation layer around the nerves. Okay, it affects the brain and spinal cord by affecting the myelin sheath. Okay, as we've said, so you'll start noticing coordination problems, messages not going quite where they want to go. Okay, it's caused by an autoimmune issue where white blood cells or antibodies attack the myelin, mistaking it for a foreign body. In progressive cases, it goes on to attack the actual nerve. Okay, the treatment is there is no known cure, but there is some medication that can help delay and stop the progression. They're not sure on the causes yet. We have on the Multiple Sclerosis Society, it said that it could be linked to lacks of vitamin D in childhood that can maybe produce it, because it tends to be more sort of north and south of the equator that seems to get it, preferably in the colder northern regions. We are more, and white people tend to be more prone to it. There isn't really any proper genetic and ethnic research on that yet. And there are some viruses that can cause it as well. It is a slight genetic thing, but it's not necessarily inherited, so don't panic. You're not likely to pass it on to your children or have caught it from your parents. Okay, but the biggest thing to take away from today is physical exercise, massage, repetitive movement. Anything you can do while you can do it is going to be hugely beneficial and hopefully give you a bit more of your freedom and your body back. If you want any information that I have gathered over my time, please let me know and I'll be happy to help.